Hello students, myself Suresh VS, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to start a lesson from your textbook Hornbill. So it is your third lesson. The title is Discovering Tut, the Saga Continues. Tut, you know that he was a Egyptian king. Saga means long story. So long story about Tut continues. Now let us see. It was written by A.R. Williams. Now let us go through the lesson. See, he was just a teenager when he died. So you see that when Tut died, he was just a teenager. That means his age was between 13 to 19. The last heir of a powerful family. So he was the last heir, that means successor or follower of a powerful family which ruled Egypt for centuries. He was laid to rest laden with gold and eventually forgotten. Laid means buried. You see that his body was buried. Laden means loaded with gold. When his body was buried, a lot of gold was loaded in it, and at last or finally it was forgotten. So nobody knew where his body was. Okay? And since the discovery of his tomb in 1922, but you see that in 1922 his body was discovered. Okay? The mummy of Tut was discovered in 1922. The modern world has speculated about what happened to him. So since his discovery, the discovery of Tut's mummy, so there were a lot of speculation, that means guesswork, or we can say a lot of ideas were formed without any base, okay, about the death of Tut. And most important theory formed by the people, or especially the archaeologists, was that he was murdered. So the cause for his death might have been murder. Now, leaving his tomb for the first time in almost 80 years, now you see that his body is going to be taken out of the tomb after 80 years of discovery. So Tut was undergone a CT scan. So Tut's body was taken for a CT scan that offers new clues. So they expected that they were going to get a new clue about his death, the reason for his untimely death, and also they expected that it would provide adequate or precise exact data for an accurate forensic reconstruction. You know the meaning of forensic? Forensic means examining the dead body for its cause, isn't it? And for the reenactment of the past of the pharaoh, they would get, pharaoh means Egyptian king. For the reenactment of the past of the pharaoh, they would get adequate or sufficient data and evidence they expected. An angry wind stirred up ghostly dust devils as King Tut was taken from his resting place in the ancient Egyptian cemetery known as the Valley of the Kings. See, the Egyptian kings were buried in such a place which was called a cemetery. That means the buried ground. Okay, the vast buried ground where the Egyptian kings were buried. That place was called Valley of the Kings. Very important. So when his body was taken from the Valley of the Kings, that means from the cemetery, okay, that time you see that a sudden change was there in the atmosphere. What was that change? The angry wind. It looked that the wind was very angry. The angry wind stirred up means gave rise, rose up. Ghostly dust devils, that means the wind started blowing heavily and it formed the dust same like that of a devil. That means the dust assumed the shape of a devil and the wind started blowing heavily. So while the king's body, the King Tut's body was taken from his resting place, that means from his grave. Okay, so when his body for the CT scan, it was taken from his resting place, from his grave, suddenly the wind started blowing heavily and the dust assumed the shape of a devil. Dark bellied clouds had scudded across the desert sky all day and now were veiling the stars in cascade grey. And now you see that not only that, another important change that they have noticed was that dark bellied clouds. Bellied means bulged clouds. Here means dark bulged clouds which started moving in the sky from the morning itself. So the cloud that was moving, okay, scudded across, that means moved quickly across the sky. Desert sky all day. So all day it was moving across the desert sky and started covering the stars. Like what? Cascade gray. Cascade gray means gray colored box is known as cascade gray. So like a gray colored box, it started veiling. Veiling means covering the stars. What? The dark clouds. It was 6 p.m. on 5 January 2005. The world's most famous mummy glided. Glided means moved. Head first into a CT scanner, brought here to probe. Probe means investigate the lingering medical mysteries of this little understood young ruler who died more than 3,300 years ago. So first time you see that they brought what? A CT scanner. So a CT scanner was brought to this desert place or nearby the tomb of the Tut, and his head that was first moved under the CT scan. So you see that they were going to examine, investigate. Probably means investigate. They were going to investigate the cause for the death of Tut. It happened almost 3,300 years ago. And Tut, you see that really he was very famous and also a young ruler who ruled Egypt. All afternoon, the usual line of tourists from around the world had descended in the cramped. And you can see that all afternoon, 5th January 2005, all afternoon, there were so many tourists who had come from different worlds to watch watch Tut. And they had lined up and they descended, they went down into the burial ground and descended into the cramped means narrow, rock-cut tomb. The tomb of Tut that was made after cutting the rock. So almost 26 feet down. The burial room was almost 26 feet down. So the tourists in a line, they descended and they crowded there, they gathered there to see the body of Tut, mummy of Tut, and pay homage to him or respect to him. And they gazed at the murals on the walls of the burial chamber. Murals means paintings. Burial chamber here means grave room. And peered at Tut's glided face, the most striking feature of his mummy-shaped outer coffin lid. And you see the people gathered there, they looked at the mummy, or we can say Tut's glided face. Glided face means he has a face that was coated with gold. Okay, that was the most important feature of this mummy. Unlike other mummies, you see that Tut's mummy that was coated with gold. Okay, the slight coating of gold was there. So they looked, some people they looked at the burial chamber, the wall of the burial chamber, what was there? So many paintings. Murals means paintings. They were watching the paintings on the wall, and some were looking, the beautiful face of Tut, which was, coated with gold. And some visitors read from guidebooks in whisper. And some visitors, what they were doing, they were reading the guidebooks in whisper, that means very slowly, in murmur. Very slowly they were reading the guidebooks. Others stood silently, perhaps pondering Tut's untimely death in his late teens. And some other people, they were standing there without making any noise. They were in deep thought. Pondering means thinking. What could have been the cause for the untimely death of this teenager? They would have been thinking about that, or wondering with a shiver. So they were frightened. They were wondering with a shiver. That means thinking with a great shiver. That means with a great fear. If the Pharaoh's curse, they were frightened that whether the curse of Pharaoh would fall upon them. The death or misfortune falling upon those who disturbed him was really true. They heard that if anybody disturbed Pharaoh, so death or misfortune or bad luck that would fall upon them. So this story would be true or not. They were thinking about these things. The mummy is in very bad condition because of what Carter did in 1920s. Said Sahih Hawass, Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. So Sahih Hawass, he was the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. He leaned over. Lean means bent over. He bent over the body for a long first look. Okay, for a long first look, he bent over the body of a Tut. Then afterwards, he declared that yes, this mummy is in a bad condition. The condition of mummy is not, the body is not good. It's in a bad condition. What? Because of what Carter had did in 1920s. So Carter actually he had found out this body. Okay, so what he had did in 1920s, due to that the body is in a bad condition, he declared. Now see who was Carter. Howard Carter. So Howard Carter was a British archaeologist who in 1922 discovered a Tut's tomb after years of futile searching. Futile means useless. So after many years of useless searching, he only found out the tomb of Tut, or we can say Tut's tomb was found out in 1922 by Howard Carter. And its contents, though hastily ransacked in antiquity, were surprisingly complete. And you see, just after finding out or discovered his tomb, so all the things, whatever the items got from this from the tomb or Tut's tomb, were very quickly looted for the antiquity, or taken for the collection of very old things. They remain the richest royal collection. You see that whatever the items got from there, they were the richest royal collection that they ever got from any of the mummies. Okay, and where surprisingly these were complete, and they have become the Pharaoh's legend. As a result of that, you see that Tut has become a great history. That means a wonderful story, or the Tut's story become really exciting and exciting for the people. And they remain the richest royal collection, and your stunning artifacts in gold. There were so many things. Stunning means wonderful, and there were so many wonderful or surprising things which were artifacts. They were made of gold. So all the things that they got from there were of gold. So their eternal brilliance meant to guarantee a resurrection. Even the eternal brilliance, the outside shining of these artifacts, okay, declared that the Tut is going to take birth again. So rebirth, resurrection means rebirth. So people believed after seeing the external brilliance of these artifacts which were made of gold, they believed that yes, there is a strong possibility for the resurrection or rebirth of Tut. Caused a sensation at the time of the discovery. So this became a sensation. This became an excitement. Okay, a sensation story. Okay, a sensation news at the time of a Tut discovery. The discovery of Tut's tomb. And still get the most attention. Not only that time, now also this tomb, the tomb of Tut, get a great attention from the people. That's why the people around the world visit to see Tut's tomb. But Tut was also buried with everyday things. But don't think that only the artifacts were there. Tut was buried with everyday things, which are the things that he wanted to use in his everyday life, like all other mummies. You see that the Egyptians, they used to keep the everyday articles with the dead body when they buried it, because they believed in life after death. So here also they buried with the things like board games. Okay, that means chessboard. He could play in another world. A bronze razor, a blade made of a razor, so that he can shave. Then linen undergarments. So undergarments were also kept so that he need not to wander naked. Then the cases of food and wine, and you see that boxes of food and also the drink also. So all these things were kept along with the body of Tut. After months of carefully recording Pharaoh's funerary treasures. So whatever the things that were kept at the time of his funerary treasures, they were very valuable things. So the things collected and recorded. So after recording all these items properly, Carter began investigating his 3 nested coffins. And he started investigating his 3 nested coffins. That means the box coming inside one. That means they fitted inside each other. So his body was kept inside okay, 3 boxes which are coming one inside another one. He found a shroud. Opening the first, when he opened the first box, he found a shroud. Okay, shroud means a cover of dead body. When he opened the first box, he found a cover of dead body that was adorned. Adorned means decorated with garlands. Okay, that means you see that after the death we used to keep the wreath. Okay, so the wreath that was made of willow and olive leaves, wild celery. Celery is a plant. Lotus petals and cornflowers. And you see that in this wreath or garlands, they had used different flowers like a cornflower, yes, lotus petals, and also willow and olive leaves. All these things were used to make the wreath. And from this, it was a great evidence for the archaeologists, the people, to think that his body was buried in the month of yes, March or April, because these things were available only this month. So they could come to the conclusion that his body was buried in the month of March or April. When he finally reached the mummy, so at last, after opening one after another 3 boxes, Carter finally reached the body. And that time he ran into trouble. What was the trouble he faced there? He met with the trouble there. What was the trouble? The ritual raisins had hardened. That means the ceremony, yes, at the time of the raisins were used at the time of the ceremony. So there is a substance called raisins were used. And you see that it's an insoluble substance that became very hard. And as a result of that, cementing touched to the bottom of a solid gold coffin, and it stuck or cemented the dead body of a touch with the solid part of or solid bottom of yes, the box, which was made of gold. Okay, so bottom of a solid gold coffin. So solid gold coffins with the bottom of it, his body was stuck. What? The resin caused it to stuck his body to the bottom of the coffin. No amount of legitimate force could move them, Carter wrote. So later on, Carter wrote, no amount of legitimate force. That means reasonable force. So even though he tried to take out the body by using a reasonable force, he could not do it. What was to be done? So he was in a great confusion and in great worry, because the body, he wanted to take the body for CT scan. So he wrote, what can be done? What to be done? So he was in a great confusion as well as in a great trouble and in tension. He wrote these words. Dear students, I hope all of you understood this much part. Now we will discuss the other part of the lesson in the coming videos. So please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you. Thank you very much.